safety first.
Oh no! No! Oh no! Oh no! Oh Jesus! Okay, so trying to figure out what combo and how to run this saw. I'm used to digging in, but the test that I did a couple days ago with this saw, I was running 8-pin sprocket in this log. I think that this is the last thing that cut on it, so we're doing back-to-back tests. The 3 cuts that I made with it, the first cut was significantly faster. We're talking 7.4 seconds versus 8.6 seconds or something like that. So that's a minute plus, I'm sorry, a second plus, which 1 second is a lot whenever it comes to racing. So I need to learn the balance of this thing. Do I just let it dig and go at its own pace? What do I do? So I have a feeling that the 7-pin sprocket that it's now wearing is actually going to be faster than the 8-pin sprocket. I could be wrong, and I'm totally cool with being wrong. But all I can do is go by the feel of this saw, and it feels like it wants more gear. It does not feel like it can take another pin. I don't know. We'll see. Here we go. Here's the test. She's already good and warmed up. And, oh, I got a new handle on it. I already forgot your name. J T and A, I think. You sent me a cool handle. And so far, I mean, it's the word that is in my head right now, it's flimsy, but that's not it. It's not flimsy, it's just soft. And I don't know how good it would be in a race, but for now, it's good. It helps the hand. It's soft, but help. Oh, he sent it to me because it says, "So it begins," which is a quote from Helm's Deep, or from Lord of the Rings, the first one. Yeah, the first one. That's the Battle of Helm's Deep. And I did put more rope on there. It is easier to start. Is it? If that ain't faster, I got some serious crow to eat. But that's faster. That cut no problem. Right through. I mean, Pat, he asked me whenever I first got this, was it what I thought that it was going to be? You know, truly, honestly. And I was like, no, nothing ever is. And you've heard me mention it with other stuff on the channel. Even the bike saw of Grant's. I don't know, it's just me and the way my brain works. So no, this wasn't what I thought it should be, or was going to be, I should say. Well, now, with the 7-pin sprocket on there, it is what I thought it was going to be. That's it. That thing had no hesitation, no bog, and it ran like titties. It was freaking awesome. That's it. So, let's say it's faster with the 8-pin or possibly even the 9-pin. Let's say it actually is. Well, in a race, I would run that. But in reality, that's the way this saw should feel. That was just ripping. Fuck. That felt great. Let me show you what it'll do in the cut real quick. Let's do this. That was able, whenever I wasn't dogging it, that was able to pull 12.5 in the cut, right? Whenever I did dog it, we're talking about 11,000, that's a good strong saw. That is a very, very good strong saw. So, but it's also only a 20-inch bar on an 81cc saw. So, all of this stuff is completely subjective, completely. I think it runs great, and I'm very interested to see what the actual numbers look like. In case you guys want to know, this thing is tuned to 13,500 RPMs. Right there at it. And it feels good. Whenever I initially cut with it, I was actually tuning it in the wood. But we got a video about that coming up here shortly that I'll use a different saw to prove. But anyways, yeah, that's the way this thing's supposed to feel. That was nice. So, yeah, the only thing to do now is to go back and look on the tape, the video, whatever, you know, and actually see what the video says. And maybe I'm full of shit, and this thing just needs to be ran with a 9, 10, 15, 20 pin, whatever, I don't know. But I text back and forth with it, with Pat about it this morning. Pat is Cajun. If I bounce back and forth between those two, you'll know. But I talked with him about it, and I was like, hey, how about this, whatever, and he tries to tell me this or whatever, and you know, we're trying to work it out and everything. But the reality is I'm the one running the saw, and it felt like it needed more gear. You know, it felt like that. And now that it has more gear, man, that thing feels good. Very, very good. But you know what? It might actually be faster with the bigger sprocket. A lot of people swear by the bigger sprockets, and they use them and they run them. Heck, I know, you know, people put an 8-pin sprocket on a stock Echo 590 and go, oh, it'll pull it, blah, 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 blah. Hey, if that's your gig, man, you go for it, you know. But for the way I run saws, I'm like, I like a 7-pin more, and I feel like they're faster. Maybe I need to learn to back off and not push so hard. I understand fully. I am very aware that what I'm going through is not just learning the saw, but it's also my own personal learning curve of what it's like to run a saw for racing applications. You know, whenever I do the whack off, I'm really trying to test the saw and what it's capable of, not trying to win a race. And so I'm pushing hard on them, hard. And you know, you may be like, I don't know, should you be doing that? Hey, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. That's the way I started doing it. That's why I'm going to keep doing it. But for the racing, it is very possible that I have to back off on that. We'll see. I'm really genuinely excited about finding out which is faster, 7-pin sprocket or an 8-pin sprocket. If I was I am a betting man. I'd bet, but I ain't got nobody to bet against me. But I'd bet that, yeah, the 7-pin Whoops, the 8-pin on this saw. Okay, so, I guess it was a little bit of both. A little bit I was right, a little bit Pat was right, but so without putting pressure, I do put a little bit of pressure on the gentle glide down the shaft, as I call it, just to keep things moving along. I did it on both saw. I always do it. I've never had a saw a chain that eats at a rate and self-feeds the way that I feel like it should. I always push just a little bit. I may be wrong with this. You may know more than me, and I'm okay with that. But for me, what worked for me, I always push just a little bit. Always do. Some saws I have to push more than others, or some chains, I should say. But anyways, yes, it was faster whenever I was putting almost no pressure on it. Yep, it was. But I'm new to this racing stuff. And am I going to have the presence of mind to stop pushing? Probably not. Probably not. And then, not to mention, there is going to be the pull up, the tug up, whatever. That's there. That's there. And it's a lot harder to gauge that than it is to gauge free flowing down and everything. And then I think proof is in the cuts with the third one. Whenever we dogged it in, and with the 7-pin, there was just no hesitation of it. There was just no chance of it stumbling. It wasn't going to stumble. It stumbled with the 8-pin, and on the upcut, yeah, I dogged it in. I get it, but that took up a fraction of time, and it still would have beaten it, I think. And even if it had tied, let's say that it tied, I would not risk running the 8-pin, because for the minuscule amount that it was faster, I mean, it was significantly faster on that first cut. It was. But the second two, no. But even if they were tied, I would still run the 7-pin, because the 7-pin removes my possible errors. With the 8-pin, it was when on the tug up, Aaron Lynch, you called it. It was pushing me back. It was pushing me back out of the cut. Whereas with this 7-pin, it was less likely to do it, because the engine was rotating faster, and it had more power behind it. So whenever it was hitting the wood, it was cutting it cleanly. I felt way less pushback on the saw with the 7-pin than I did with the 8, because I felt like the 8 was getting stopped in its tracks whenever I was applying pressure. So, regardless of anything, here's what's important. I feel more comfortable and I feel faster with that 7-pin, and I'm less likely to make a mistake with the 7-pin than I am with the 8-pin. So I'm going to run a 7-pin. Also, this saw was built, I mean, I've talked with Cajun about this. It was not built to cut 10-inch pine. Not really. I mean, not really. It was built to be general purpose race saw, and so I can still take that saw and I can work it. I can work that saw. It doesn't overheat, but at Sawfest, this size of chainsaw needed to have a 24-inch bar, and you were running in 20 inches of poplar and then 20 inches of oak. And so I would absolutely run the 7-pin with that size wood. Absolutely. And I would say on that right there, I don't care how gently you fed it, that's a lot of wood. What we're running here is about 17 inches, and I got a 20-inch bar. A full 20 inches, that is big. That's a lot of wood. And so absolutely the 7-pin would win. I think. Because it's just human nature. You're going to, at some point, put a little bit of pressure on that. And the 8-pin would slow down much more easily. That 7-pin just keeps on chugging. So anyways, there you have it. Really like the saw, and it keeps running better. It does. It keeps getting easier to start for me too. It did make a difference putting more rope on that pulley. It totally did. The big handle that I put on there, I'm not 100% sure it's right for this saw. It is easier on the hand. It really is. But at the same time, boy, it stretches. It stretches out. But anyways, I'm learning this, having fun learning this, and we're golden. Hope you enjoyed the videos.